Good morning and welcome to KJOY 98.3. I am Police Officer Tommy Shevlin, the Nassau County PBA President, and you are listening to Police Talk. Today I am honored to have recently retired Nassau County Highway Patrol Officer George Day with me. Good morning, George.
Good morning, Tommy. It's good to be here this morning with you. Thank you for the invite.
I'm so blessed to have you here today. So let's get right into it, George. Why don't you give our listeners a little background of your career?
Well, I was in the fortunate position to become a Nassau County police officer in 2005. One of the proudest moments of my life, really. The job did so much for my family. I worked in the 1st Precinct, and soon after working there, I ended up working for a division within the precinct as a school resource officer, and by chance ended up working with the high school that I graduated from, Untitled High School.
Wow, that's pretty interesting.
So many years later. And a few years later, had the privilege of going to the Highway Patrol, and in 2013, I became a motorcycle officer for Nassau County. And again, another very, very proud moment for me, and it was a job that I absolutely loved and cherished.
How many years did you work, George?
Upon my recent retirement, I have a total of about 17 years, just over 17 years, in fact.
And where did you grow up?
Grew up in Hempstead, Nassau County.
Nice. Did you always know you wanted to be a police officer?
I knew from a very young age that that was one of the things I was very highly interested in. But, you know, life happens and other things kind of get in the way sometimes. You know, my first child was born when I was 19, and my son, George, I was just so busy trying to work and build a family and make sure everyone was taken care of that I did not have the ability to pursue that dream until years later. In 2005, we had already gotten our house and things were kind of moving in a certain direction, and an opportunity came up, and a good friend of mine who was a Nassau County police officer says, "Hey, you should consider this job," and got me an application. And thank you, Mike Larmany, for that.
So, are you the first person in your family to be in law enforcement?
No. My cousin, Richie Alvarez, was a police officer, still is, as a matter of fact, in New York City. He's older than me a little bit, and I was always very, very proud of him. And he would, whenever I would see him, he would, tell me as when I was a kid about his exploits on the job, and I always listened to his stories with rapt attention and starry eyes, and he's definitely part of the reason why I became a police officer.
Well, I'm glad that you had someone to look up to and someone that led you to this great profession. So a lot of our listeners are police officers, and I know that a lot of people from Nassau County Police Department are looking forward to listening to this talk that we are having today. So, George, tell us more about Highway and the motor platoon, because what I always hear is that the motor platoon is one of the most dangerous parts of the job that any department can have.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Aside from the fact that you're on a motorcycle while you're working and you have very little protection, if any at all, in the event of some kind of an accident. God forbid a collision like in my case. There's no cage around you. There's you've got nothing. It's you, the motorcycle, and the road. On top of that, the nature of the job as such is very often one of the principal things that we do are escorts. We do escorts for funerals. We do escorts for dignitaries. We do presidential escorts. And escorting doesn't mean you're just in front of the principal or the package or whomever is in the lineup. Escorting means that there are bikes that are going to be in the left lane, moving at a fairly high rate of speed, to go to the next intersection before the procession reaches it, so that they can safely block it off, make sure everything is safe, make sure it's safe for pedestrians and motorists alike, so that by the time the procession rolls through, it's a calm intersection, it's a controlled intersection, and you wait for the entire package to go through. Once the entire package goes through, well, you get back on your bike, and you get back in that left lane, and as quickly and as safely as you can, you have to pass the entire package, find that next intersection that isn't handled or taken care of, and make it safe. So a lot of variables can occur when you're trying to do that because there's some speed involved, and it can be very dangerous.
Well, I thank you for all of that work, and I thank you. I'm sure I speak for everybody that has been part of an escort, especially at a funeral. You really give a great send-off and show a lot of respect to the families for our lost heroes. So thank you for all of that. Is riding a motorcycle, it seems like it's one of your passions. Can you just tell me about that? Like, did you just wake up one day and say, I want to be a motorcycle cop, or how did you get to that?
I've always had an interest in motorcycles. I got my first motorcycle when I was 19 years old, and loved it from the start. And years later, I ended up working in the industry at a motorcycle dealership, and that's what I did before I became a police officer. And it was a working a sales job means you're spending a tremendous amount of time from your family. So it certainly had its challenges, but I was very passionate about it, and very, very glad I did it.
So George, take us back to July 6th, 2019. Were you working that day? Yeah,
so July 6th, 2019, I was coming in to... I'm laughing because it wasn't a crazy day. It was a beautiful Saturday morning, and I didn't have a lot on my agenda for the day. There was a job I was supposed to do a little bit later that morning where I was going to go to a park and meet a lot of the public, and they had a show planned for that day where there were going to be a lot of fire trucks and a lot of police apparatus, and it was one of those sort of family day where you bring your kids down to meet officers and fire personnel and check out all the tools and equipment that they use. It was supposed to be an easy day, but the earlier part of that morning, I was on patrol and I was on my motorcycle, and I was northbound on Belmore Avenue. From Sunrise Highway, and a driver came out from a side street, neglected to stop for a stop sign, came out into the intersection, and I had nowhere to go. And we collided, and I was ejected from the motorcycle, and I'm told I hit a tree, and then I bounced off the tree and hit a fence, and it was horrible. And unfortunately, after the driver struck me, he fled the scene, and I was left for dead. And it's just by the very grace of God that other working police officers and ambulance personnel were in the vicinity, and the call had gone out, and I received medical care very, very rapidly. Otherwise, I would have died on the road right there and then. Wow. I don't even know what to say. I mean, thank you for sharing this with us. I know this isn't easy for you. This day, July 6, 2019, not only changed the department, this changed your life forever. Yeah, that's for certain. As a matter of fact, the nature of my injuries were I broke 19 ribs, collapsed both lungs. I shattered my left leg from the knee down in 5 different places. I herniated discs in my neck and sustained nerve damage to where my right shoulder doesn't work the way it used to work. And when they got me to the hospital, they had to put me under in a coma. So I was in a coma for up to 10 days, during which time they had to give me, because I was bleeding out, they had to give me up to 25 units of blood and blood plasma. It was I was unconscious, but I'm told it was horrible. I coded on 3 different occasions, and they were able to somehow bring me back and keep me from losing my life. And I remember waking up from it I was intubated, so I had a tube down my throat, and I couldn't speak. And I hadn't at that point remembered the incident at all. I didn't know what I was doing there. And I can remember really just, I don't know, I was in panic. So I'm trying to scream, but you can't scream when you have a tube down your throat. And, my wife was there for that. When I woke up, she'd been there the whole time. And she held my hand and she told me, your kids are okay. You were in an accident. They're taking care of you. Everything's going to be all right. And, the moment she told me my kids were okay, for some reason I woke up and I had this zany idea that somehow they were in danger. Or what. I'm laying in the bed and all I'm thinking about is, oh, my God, where are they? And my kids, mind you, are older.
How many kids do you have?
I've got 2 kids, George and Christine, and they are my son's my eldest, and he's 29, and Christine is 25. And for some reason, I was thinking, oh my God, where are the kids? And she told me they're okay, they're fine. And as soon as she told me that, I was able to relax. And of course, there's another element of danger in that. My son is a Nassau County is an NYPD police officer, and he was at the time working in the 77th precinct in Brooklyn. And upon waking up, I had this panicked idea that somehow he was hurt or he was in danger or what have you. And the moment my wife told me the kids were fine, let's just focus on you, I was able to calm down and relax for a little bit.
It's an amazing story. And most of the time, a tragedy doesn't end well. Listen, I know that you have injuries that will last a lifetime, but you are an inspiration, and I'm being honest with you. You are our hero. You really are. And I'm so proud to even be sitting next to you right now.
Thanks, Tommy.
And I really before we get back to the injuries and the recovery process, tell me more about your son, because you did just say did I hear that correctly? Your son is an NYPD police officer. Yeah,
that's correct. It's something he's always wanted to do. I think he was 12 years old when I personally went into the police academy for Nassau County. So he kind of went on that whole journey with me and saw all the things that I kind of got to do, or all the stories I would tell him when I would get home. And so he had it in his head that this was always what he wanted to do. And he took a bunch of different tests, and things sort of landed really well with the NYPD. And, my wife and I were very, very proud of him.
So it's safe to say that his father is his hero, and he's probably very honored to walk in your footsteps.
Well, I'll tell you, thinking about that kid really brings a tear to my eye. He's really something special. And that whole walking in my footsteps, what you said couldn't be more true. He just recently became a member of the NYPD's highway patrol.
Wow!
And he's a motor cop now. It's like his old man. The only thing I kind of lament about a little bit was I wasn't ready to retire. I had expected to continue working for a while, and it really would have been nice to have worked with him on jobs, because NYPD and Nassau County Police Department have a very special relationship, and we help each other out quite often on different jobs. Particularly, in my experience, was highway patrol, when we would do joint escorts and help each other out. So I really was looking forward to doing some escorts with my son. But nonetheless, I'm very, very proud of him, and can't wait to see what he does with it.
I'm sure that your son would have loved to work with you also, but more importantly, he has his dad. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
You survived this, and this is nothing short of a miracle. When you said that you coded 3 times, can you just explain what that means?
That means that there were 3 different occasions where I stopped breathing, and they were able to they were able to bring me back. I was on a ventilator, and the ventilator apparently was doing, I'm told, about 70% of the work. So in terms of like my own lungs, I found it extremely difficult to breathe. It felt like I was breathing through, one of those tiny little straws that sometimes they'll give you on a mixed drink or what have you. It was so difficult to breathe. Everything hurt. Everything in my chest hurt. And I was unconscious at the time when it occurred, but there are 3 different occasions where I stopped breathing, and they were able to bring me back. Otherwise, I would have died. And I feel so indebted to everyone who helped. The staff at Nassau County Medical Center, Nassau University Medical Center now. I'm so indebted to them and grateful for all their dedication and all their hard work. And they basically rebuilt me.
Yes, they did. And we cannot bring up the fact that your wife is as tough as nails. They don't come tougher than your wife. I was standing there at your bedside when you were unconscious, and I was speaking with your wife. And I tell you, she was holding it together better than all of us. So let's talk about your wife here. How has she been? Your support system is unbelievable, because we know just the fact of being police officers, our families, they're the ones who struggle. They're the ones who sacrifice more than anyone else when we're missing holidays and we're missing family functions. And this is just so far, it's so different than anything else. I mean, her husband was laying here unconscious. She doesn't know what the future holds, if there is any. And she was able to look around at all of the support that you had with all of the police officers that were there and tell them it's going to be okay.
Yeah, it was. That was amazing. I don't know where she gets the strength from. She is an operating room tech. She works for Stony Brook University. So she's used to seeing people on, the operating table, getting worked on and that sort of thing. And she's used to caring for people. But certainly not her own husband laying there all chopped up. So I don't know how she was able to do that. But, she wasn't just there to sort of tell me everything was going to be okay. She was also an advocate for me and directly involved in the direction of my care. Certain decisions had to be made, and there were so many problems with me that the doctors involved had to make some tough choices. And she was always there advocating for the right one. Here's a quick example of a choice, right? So once they had gotten me stabilized, I was barely stable because of all the internal injuries that I had sustained. And the orthopedics wanted to get me in the operating room to help fix the leg, because the fractures in the leg was a compound fracture. So, the bone, I'm sorry to get graphic a little bit, but the bone was sticking out, and it was a mess. But the doctors responsible for taking care of my internal injuries were afraid to have me go through that surgery because they didn't think that I could take it. The other doctors were concerned that if they didn't do the surgery right away, I would lose the leg. So they were constantly sort of going back and forth to try to make a resolution. And my wife was always in there helping to guide them and, well, not guide them, but perhaps put her 2 cents in,
Well, and just to remind our listeners, I am Police Officer Tommy Shevlin, Nassau County PBA President, and I am joined here today on Police Talk with Nassau County Motor Platoon retired Police Officer George Day. And we're going over George's career and his injuries that forced him into early retirement. So, George, let's talk about when you started to rehabilitate and you were able to start, when you were able to come home. I mean, that was a big day. And where did you go from there? How did you keep hope? How were you inspired? How were you able to smile again? That's what really gets me when I see you here today and you're smiling and you're able to take the cards that were dealt to you and play that hand. It's pretty amazing, because it would have been very easy for most people to just give up and give in, and you did not. So you are a fighter. You are an inspiration. So I would just like you to talk quick about, what that was like, learning how to live again, how to walk again, how to, with your limitations and all that.
It wasn't like I didn't have my dark moments, because there were some times, whether I was in the hospital or recently after I had gotten home, where you reach that point of just despair. But a lot of what kept me going was the support that I had from family and friends, and the job. I had so many visitors. I had so many people come from the job and from the community even come through and to wish me well and to see me progress. I kind of felt like I owed it to everyone else to continue to get better, to keep myself from that point of despair. After I got out of the rehab hospital, I went from Nassau University Medical Center to Stony Brook Hospital for a little bit, because that was so much closer to home and more convenient for my family to rehabilitate myself. And then finally, at St. Charles Hospital, they have a wonderful rehabilitation program, and that's where I learned how to attempt to walk again. And I had a walker, and it was very it was very tenuous. It was very difficult, a lot of pain still. And I finally come home. First of all, the job showed up on my day of release from St. Charles Hospital, the rehab hospital. They showed up and they gave me a motorcycle escort to my home.
Wow. I remember that.
Yeah, that was unexpected. That was unbelievable, and my family really appreciated that, and it meant so much. And but now I'm home, and there's a hospital bed in my living room, and that hospital bed is basically where I live, because I wasn't mobile enough to get around. I could kind of get around a little bit with the walker, but it was very difficult and it was very painful. And everyone has to get back to their lives. My wife has to go back to work. The kids have work and school, so they're busy with that sort of thing. And now it's up to me. And I have to continue with my recovery. I have some little exercises that I can do here and there. I started with some physical therapy, where a very good physical therapist came to my home and helped me with some exercises. But now I'm left with the new normal. And the new normal for me now is I'm fighting to I'm fighting to get the old me back. Something's missing. I feel like something was taken from me. I don't know what's going to happen to me job-wise. At that point, I really wanted to, more than anything, just come back to work. And I was just hoping that the rest of me was going to heal enough, and the nerve damage that I sustained was going to come back. And it was a really trying and really, really difficult time. But, no one forgot about me. They would still call me. They would still reach out to me. I would still get, visits. And I would hold on to any small win that I would have. So every time I got a little bit better, that would sort of encourage me to get to the next step.
It's unbelievable, your story, and thank you so much for being with me today. I think we also really need to give a shout out and thank the Commissioner of Nassau County Police Department, Patrick Ryder, and the rest of the job, Highway, of course, for being there by your side every day, supporting you, giving you hope. And listen, Chief Palmer, we have to give a special thanks to Chief Palmer, because Chief Palmer was at the hospital almost every day, and he, alongside your wife, was someone who was, keeping the rest of us positive, in good spirits. Chief Palmer would send out emails every other day giving us updates on Police Officer George Day, our real hero. So we have to thank all of them also. There's a lot of people to thank, but more importantly, I thank you. And I think that we owe you so much. The police department and our community really owes you, because you went through this. You were risking your life. You knew the risks. You know that highway and motor platoon in particular is a very dangerous position. You were willing to risk your life every day you went to work for the community that you serve. That's how all of us, all police officers are. You know, when we put on a shield and a bulletproof vest every day to go to work, we leave our loved ones. We say goodbye to them to protect everybody else. So our community really owes you so much. And people don't realize that even though you're retired now, not because you wanted to, you were forced to, okay? And that takes a huge toll. And I know all about that. I know mentally this is not easy for you. It's not easy for anybody when they retire. You lost your identity. But I know that you're a fighter, and I know that you will do whatever you need to be happy and healthy. And that's what I wish for you, and nothing, but the best for you and your family. You guys are our heroes. Your family will always be there, for us, and we're always going to be there for you. So, is there anyone else that you want to thank that you were helped by and along the way? I know we were talking before here. You mentioned Leo Weekend.
Oh my gosh, LEO Weekend is a charitable organization, and they're nationwide, but they're based here out of Long Beach. And when I was hurt, maybe just months after I was hurt, I was finally able to get up and walk with a walker or with a crutch. They reached out and they offered my family a weekend getaway in Long Beach at a nice hotel by the beach to meet other officers throughout the nation who had been similarly injured. And it was just supposed to be like a nice getaway for the family. So I was reluctant to go because how could I manage? Was I going to be able to get up and around? Was I going to be in too much pain? But it turned out to be this wonderful experience, and it was the first time since I had been injured that my family was able to go and do something and truly relax. I'm very grateful to those guys. Shout out to Austin from LEO Weekend and all the guys over there. I really appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for that. I know there's a lot of organizations out there that do offer support, but the biggest thing is you are an inspiration, and I look forward to seeing what you do in the future, because your life is far from over, and your career maybe officially is over, but I know that you have a lot of heart and a lot of passion to offer to help all of us get through our day. So one of the things I also have to get out there, I just want our listeners and our community to realize we as police officers, we are human, and we bleed, we hurt, we cry, and we are your family, your friends. We are your community. And I just want you to understand that this person here, George Day, risked everything, and his life will never be the same because he was out there trying to keep your streets safe. So we owe him a debt of gratitude. I thank you so much for being with us today, George.
Thanks, Tommy.
I look forward to seeing what the future holds for you and your family. We will always be here to support you at Nassau County Police Department and especially the PBA.
Thank you.
I am Tommy Shevlin, Nassau County PBA President. This is Police Talk. Thank you, KJOY 98.3, and thank you to all of our listeners. Stay safe, and we will be back next week.